Hi everyone, Tara back again, and I am speaking today with Louise Clarke of Your Parenting Partner. Louise, thank you so much for doing this with me, and if you can just let our viewers know who you are and what it is that you do, because it's actually really, really interesting.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm always happy to talk to people about parenting. So I am a parent coach, certified parent coach and mindfulness coach. I am married and I have 3 teenagers of my own. So I'm right in the thick of it. I have a 15-year-old boy, a 17-year-old girl, and a 19-year-old boy. And I work to support parents through their lives in the thick of it, how to navigate the challenges that we're all up against, that we all face in our lives with kids. And never more than right now when we are in these strange, crazy, unknown, uncertain, uncomfortable times where no one knows how long this lockdown's going to end, where's coronavirus going to go. We're we're all in it together. So every single person, wherever you are in the world, I'm in Vancouver in Canada, doesn't matter whether you're in France, America, Italy, Brazil, we're all in a very similar situation, which is quite remarkable in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree.
But with that come tremendous challenges and tremendous pressure for everybody to be under the same roof for a prolonged period of time that we don't know when will end. So we're all having to face our fears and become more present. In fact, do all the things that I often spend my time recommending parents do anyway. But we'll get into that in more detail. So yeah, I work one-on-one with parents. I have a podcast. I have blogs. I have a book that I've written called Parenting the Modern Teen. So I have lots of resources that can help parents, and I have a Facebook group where I can help parents as well. They can join for free, and we talk about everything parenting. So yeah.
That's awesome. So at the end of this call, what we'll do is I'll have you list out where people can get a hold of you and your podcast and all of that, so that everyone who's watching can find you at the end of this. So we are chatting parenting our way through COVID-19 today, which is a huge topic. We were just talking about that. So we're going to see how much we can fit in to today's call. So you have given me a few things to go through here. So the first one was screen time and device use.
All right. You know what, I wonder, Tara, whether it might be interesting to just list all the things that we'll talk about, because when I talk about screen time and device use, I'm going to refer to routine and structure.
Yeah.
I'm going to refer to finding balance. So maybe if the listeners and viewers can get an idea of all the things we're going to try and talk about, because they're all kind of like pieces in a puzzle. It's hard to pull one without the other. So maybe you could list those. And
so they all definitely go together, right? Because we have screen time and device use and finding balance, need for structure and routine, coping with fear, everyone being under one roof, and how parents can meet their needs as well as their child's needs.
Mm-hmm. So much to talk about. And
I know.
And we can link it all together. That's why I think it's important for people to know right now, we will be covering as much of it as we can. And also just to know that I'm in it with you. Just because I sit here and I do what I do doesn't let me off scot-free. It doesn't mean I'm sitting here in my home, not stressed by the fact I have 5 of us under one roof, plus 2 crazy cats, and we're not getting out enough. It doesn't mean I'm not going to be triggered. It doesn't mean I'm not going to lose it every now and again. I'm in it with you.
Yeah.
But what I do have is I have a bank of tools and resources that I know I can draw upon to help me through it. So I'll share with you, what I'm doing and how I've managed to get through it so far. Yes, there's been ups. Yes, there's been downs. But everybody's situation is, as much as we're all in the same situation, everyone's situation is unique, and recognizing that every child is unique, every child will be processing this in a different way, every parent will be processing it in a different way. But change does start with us. We were just talking about this, And as long as we believe that we can force change on our kids and make them do this, do that, listen, obey, get their homework done, get off their phones. If we believe that we can force change on them, it's interesting, I'll put it to you, to shift your mindset to seeing you can, but the best way to do it is to change the way in which you approach it. So if you change how you approach your interactions with your kids, they will change the way in which they respond to you. So I think really the biggest challenge that certainly the parents I'm working with and the parents in my Facebook group are facing is the phones, those dreaded phones. Like, we love them and they're great, and isn't Zoom wonderful, and we're on this call, but how do we manage it when now, if screens were an issue, if the kids being on their phones and devices and gaming was an issue pre-COVID, it's going to be a bigger issue now. So it's not that this isn't a new problem we're facing. It's a gargantuan problem that was the number one challenge, I believe, in most parents' lives pre-COVID. Now, their kids are not only on their phones to connect all the time with their friends, but they're on their phones and their devices for all their schoolwork as well. But at least at school, there was a little bit of a break. They were at least in a classroom engaging person to person with a teacher. Now it's all like this. So it's really, really hard. And I think the first thing that can help a household run a bit more smoothly is to have structure and routine. As much as the kids don't like it, they claim they don't want it. And sometimes some of the schools, depending on what school system you're in or school district you're in, they're like, one of my kids has got everything's online. So he basically gets up, sits like this at 9 a.m. and he finishes at 3. And every lesson is as it would have been real time, but virtual time. One of the others is just being given assignments on a Monday, handed in on a Friday. So she's really not got any structure to her day. So I think it's important. You have to work out, like, who's got the structure. If your kids have got the structure and they have to be at their desk online 9 to 3, I actually am a big fan of that. Then the structure's inbuilt. It's not coming from you. They have to do it. Great. The problem is when it's not so structured. So I think we need to create the structure, but work with your kids to create the structure. Don't kind of impose your structure and your agenda on them. The older they get, you have to give them more control of how they wish to approach this. A friend of mine was just saying the other day, my kids, I'm not making them get up at 8 and start at 9. They're getting up at 9:30 and starting at 10:30, because then they're like, they've had a long lie, they're a bit more relaxed, then they're happy to go online. But if she was going in at 7:30, say, come on, you got to get up, she knows it will start the day off wrong. So we have to work with them and not against them. Put in the structure that works. Ask them, does it work? How much time do you need? And, maybe create a family digital blueprint, like a family digital house rules thing, where you say, and they're going to need more time on their screens right now. They're going to need more time to connect with their friends. So I always encourage parents to encourage their kids to actually be connected via Zoom or FaceTime or on a phone call. They'll be like, I don't speak on the phone, Mom. I just Snapchat and I just DM them. No, call them. We'll be happy for them to be on the phone or doing this. The problem is they're only doing it generally through Snapchat, through Instagram. So they're getting the dopamine hit with it. So they're back into it, and then they get caught up in the feed and they're not really chatting. So encouraging actual conversation, even through phones or platforms such as Zoom, Skype, etc. I think that's important. And saying to them, look, you can have, how much time do you need to actually chat to your friends? How much time do you actually want on Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok? And get them to come up with it. And they might say, well, I want 6 hours. And you might, 6 hours is a bit too much. But collaborate with them. Or
Mhm.
just go to them and go, you're having X time, because then they're going to go, but I want more. They're not seen, they're not heard, they don't feel they're understood. So in all your interactions, you want to make sure they feel seen, heard, understood, that they have a say, that their opinion matters, that they belong in the family unit, that they're part of the team. And then you can create, so you've got that structure in place, and you can make it as structured, as formal as you want, but get their buy-in. And
Right.
then also with household chores and saying, you know, there's certain things that have to be done. We can all do a bit of it. You can make that as structured and formal as you want. You know, Monday's dishwasher for Tom, Tuesday's dishwasher for Samantha, Wednesday's dishwasher for Ben. But then you have to police it. And I
Yeah.
think that is the other piece we forget as parents, is that we do have to remind them. They're not waking up thinking, oh, I have to do the dishwasher today,
Yeah.
and I've allowed 30 minutes on TikTok and 1 hour on Instagram. No, they're just waking up today thinking, woohoo, great, I'm on Instagram. They've forgotten about the dishwasher. So we need to know, we need to remind them.
Yeah.
And that's part of our job. So it doesn't turn into a big nag fest. And every time you look at them, you're like, get off your phone.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, and and you're right, how that kind of ties into routine and structure as well, right? Because I know that that's a big battle, that technology is a huge factor right now, especially because, you know, a lot of kids are, especially at the developmental age where socializing is a huge thing for them, and they
Yeah.
are missing out on that aspect of their life because they can't leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, their battle for wanting to be talking with their friends and stuff is going to be a lot bigger than if they had just spent all day at school with their friends and they're just coming home, right? So structuring that and understanding that part of them,
And
that that is happening.
having empathy for them. I
Yeah.
always say to parents, embody your child's experience, because when you do that, you might say to your daughter, this must be so hard for you. Like, you normally spend 6 hours a day with your friends, and then you see your volleyball group,
Mhm.
and now you're seeing no one. This must be so difficult for you. And she'll go, yeah, Mom, it's just awful. And you'll go, I get it. You're so sad. I'm sad too. I can't see my friends. You know,
Mhm.
is there anything I can do to help you? Versus, well, everybody else is in this boat, you know,
Mhm.
you just have to get on with it. Then they don't
Yeah.
feel seen and heard. But if you can embody their experience for anything, even getting them off their phones. So rather than going to them and saying, get off your phone, you've been on the phone all day, go sit down beside them and say, hey, what are you doing on your phone? And she might go, oh, Mom, I'm on Instagram and tap, tap, the heart, heart, heart. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they're one of these, and they're doing these funny kind of photo, you know, they do this and they take
Yeah.
photos. Like, that's going to be up your nose. That's what they do. So say to them, hey, what are you doing? Sit down with them, have a chat about it.
Mhm.
You know what? We said an hour and you've been on the phone for an hour and a half. How much longer do you think you need? Versus get off it, put it down. And she might go, oh, well, just another 10 minutes, Mum. And you might say, you know what, fair enough. But then go back in 10 minutes and say, you know, we did say 10 minutes. And then she knows you've been nice, you've been
Yeah.
flexible. She's more likely to not fight you. And if she said, oh, another hour, you might say, you know what, you've been on for an hour and a half. I think it's probably enough.
Yeah.
So embody their experience while they're on their phones, move in with them, be on their page, understand where they're at, and then make the request.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so, as far as the need for structure and routine, I like what you said about not necessarily imposing your version of structure and routine. And, you know, I've said this a lot with working with teenagers is get the buy-in, right? So make them feel like they're part of the planning
Yeah,
process of their day. So that way, you know, that way they also have some semblance of responsibility for their day because they participated in the creation of their structure or routine.
absolutely. So important. Otherwise, they're just like, it's always your rules. It's
Mm-hmm.
always what you want. I never get seen. I'm never heard. No one listens to me. It's always your way or the highway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you want to avoid them feeling that way, because when they do, you're going to be fighting them all the way.
Yeah.
But when they feel heard and they have their part to play in the creation of whatever the structure might look like, you could say to them, you know what, this doesn't seem to be working for you, but you had a say in this.
Mm-hmm.
So what can we do to make it better? Then they feel heard. We
Yeah.
want to teach them to be able to collaborate. We want to teach them to be able to resolve conflict. And when we just come at them all the time, they switch off to us, and then we become even more nagging and unkind and not very
Yeah.
nice to them, and then they become disrespectful, sassy, offhand. So it's a two-way street. We have to show up in a way that role models the behavior we want them to adopt for themselves, and we have to show up in a way that they feel understood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing too for parents right now, especially with the COVID situation, is that pressure to, a lot of parents feel pressured to have that routine and to sit for school and to struggle through all of this instead of kind of letting go and, like you said, starting at 9:30 or 10:30, whatever works better for your family unit, and that makes it a lot more cohesive versus, you know, um, battling about it every morning.
And it
And
might be within the same family. You might have a 10-year-old that is an early bird
mhm,
and really likes to get things done and out the way and have the rest of the day ahead of them.
mhm,
So great, no problem. Tom wants to get up early. Tom, what time do you want to start? Because you get up at 6. Like, wish
yeah,
you did what you do. And he goes, well, Mom, by the time I'm ready at 8. Okay, you want to start at 8? Then you're
mhm,
done by 10 maybe. Whereas, Emma might be 14, struggle, they don't like getting up in the morning. They're
yeah,
more night owls, their whole biorhythms are switching. So you might say to her, yeah, sure, what time do you want to start? And she goes, well, 3. You say, well, that's maybe a bit late. Let's pull it back a bit.
yeah,
Maybe you might say 10, and then she might go, 10? No, 11. And you might then go, okay, 11. So what's that going to look like? When are you breaking for lunch? And then you're going to get her buy-in. She
yeah,
doesn't care that Tom's up at 8, and
mhm,
Tom really doesn't care that she's, because he wants to get up early. Now, if
right,
Tom is forced to get up early and Emma's allowed to sleep in, then you're going to get disconnect. Then you're going to get the two of them fighting each other.
yeah,
So you have to work with your individual kids and make it work with them and not fight them.
yeah, yeah, I completely agree. One of the things that's on the list is coping with fear, which is a huge thing right now because, and I've done quite a few of the Zoom chats so far, and I've talked a lot about, you know, understanding that this is all somewhat of a trauma for everyone, and that there's a lot of fear out there within our families, with, as far as communities and countries, and it goes far spread, the fear right now and the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so do you want to talk a little bit about dealing with that when it
Yeah,
comes to parenting?
I'd love to. I'd love to. I think we have to first be aware of how much of the time we spend driving the bus from fear.
Mm-hmm.
And, living in the pre-COVID, what many of us didn't realize, we were often driving from fear. And
Right.
it's certainly as parents, when you're faced with a certain behavior, you're like, oh my God, is he ever going to learn? I hope he's not like this with his teachers. I hope she doesn't dress like that when she goes, we're at fear.
Yeah.
And the fear kicks in the limbic mode. We go into fight, flight, or freeze, and it goes downhill all the way. So
Yeah.
we have to be aware of when we're in a fearful thought pattern, because if we're thinking, we're not here in the present moment. And
Yeah.
in this present moment, right now, yes, COVID's going on around us, but in this present moment, I have nothing, right now, nothing to be fearful of. I'm
Mm-hmm.
here, I'm on an interview. Now, if I'm always thinking, oh my God, when's this interview going to finish? It's going to contaminate this moment and stop me showing up in this moment free of fear. So I think we need to be really cognizant of that. And we also need to be very aware of the fact that when we tap into the news feed, we are looking fear in the face. And that when the whole news feed, you go on to the news, whether it be CNN, Fox, whatever it is you're watching, BBC probably, I know I'm British, it's probably the most neutral of the news channels. You know, they don't, you know, even if they're talking about something very morbid, very grave, they're not, they deliver it in a way that's less kind of like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
So some of the news feeds are very, whoa,
Yeah.
that way. So I think we have to be aware of how much news do I need? How much news is enough? In other words, how much news allows me to know what's going on, but is not immersing me in fear that I
Yeah.
can't get out of for 1 second of the day. And therefore, every interaction with my kids, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Because when we're scared, we're not going to interact well. We can't. Our
Yeah.
reactivity is heightened. Our limbic system's heightened. We're flooded with adrenaline, cortisol, and other stress hormones. So we can't show up in a way our kids need us to. So I advise all the clients I'm working with to really look at how much is enough. Now it might be half an hour for one person, it might be 2 hours for another, it might be 5 minutes for one. And also ask yourself, when am I watching it? Because if you open your eyes in the morning, pick up the phone, and you've got the news there, you are going to be triggered from the minute you stand up out of bed.
Yeah.
You look at it last thing at night, you're triggered before you go to sleep. So watch when you're watching it and know what's enough. And I would certainly advise any parents that are watching to not have CNN on a screen in the family room running all day long with the big red breaking news. How many people died? How many of this?
Yeah.
It's not good for us. It really is not. And we don't need we don't need to be bombarded and hit with it all the time, but neither do our kids. They feed off our energy.
Yeah.
And when the kids start seeing, even 4-year-olds will know that the big red square along the bottom of the TV is bad.
Yeah.
And they're going to, what is it, mommy? I've just seen that red thing again. So I would minimize the news feed. Minimize, you go on Facebook, it's just all doom and gloom. Instagram, doom and gloom. So watch your media diet, watch your news diet. Give yourself just what you need, but not that's going to tip you over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And one thing I do want to get on this list before we finish everything is meeting our own needs as well as our child's, because I know that this is going to be so difficult for so many parents right now because everyone is under one roof, because things are a lot more condensed, if you will, together.
Yeah.
And so, for parents who are used to going to the gym for their time, or, parents who are used to having date nights or whatever the case might be to recharge, now aren't able to do those things. So what is your advice on, as a parent, meeting your needs as well as showing up for your kids?
Well, I think if you meet your needs, you're better able to meet your kids' needs.
Right.
If you've not met your own needs, you ain't going to be meeting theirs, period.
Right.
So you have to, and it's not selfish. In fact, it's selfish not to.
Right.
It's selfish to actually ignore your own needs, because then when you show up to your kids to try and meet theirs, you can't.
Right.
So it isn't, mums, if you're feeling guilty for ever taking time for yourself, which is something that a lot of us, let's face it, most mums can feel guilty about anything and everything. So try and not feel guilty for it. See it as, you know what, I'm a better mum if I do this. Now, childcare is a problem as well, but if you've got a partner that you're living with in the home, make sure you dovetail. Make sure every day you say, you need to go out for an hour, or if you can't go out, if you're watching this and you actually can't even leave the house to go for a walk, then you have to go into your bedroom, put a mat on the floor, get a rock from outside, do whatever you need to do to create some way in which you can maybe take some exercise in your room. There's that veteran in the UK who has raised £5 million. He is 93 years old. By what? Walking his garden path. And he's walked, I don't know how many hundreds of kilometers in his garden to raise money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could do it in your bedroom. You could do
Yeah.
it in the hall. But sign off, say, you got the kids for this hour or for this 15 minutes. I'm going upstairs to lie on my bed and just look at the ceiling. Or I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go and take a shower, a long shower.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It doesn't have to be hours on end. And so give each other that time so you can check out for a bit. If your kids are younger and you're living at home and you can't leave them, could you leave them in front of the TV? Could you put on a show for half an hour, and then rather than you run around the house in that half hour, tidying it, prepping dinner, doing the laundry and doing all that in that half hour, no, you go and do something for yourself in that half hour in the house. You will fold the laundry with them. Put the laundry on the dining room table, get them set up with a puzzle or crayons or something. You fold the laundry while they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Them at the breakfast bar in the kitchen. While you're making dinner, you're doing a puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
if they're younger. So you're not using all your precious time on doing all the routine, mundane things.
Yeah.
Because when you don't nurture your needs and give yourself what you need, you're not going to show up in
Yeah.
a way that you are able to meet your kids' needs. Because every time they whine or to make a demand of you, you're like, what? Because you're empty.
Yeah.
And most of us are running pretty empty right now,
Yeah.
emptier than usual, because we can't do the things that we usually do to top our tanks up.
Yeah.
It's so important. And sleep. Don't binge
Yeah.
watch Netflix until 2 a.m. Give yourself the sleep.
Yeah.
The time where you really, really cannot afford to lose sleep, because, your sleep is going to increase your immunity. Your not being in fear will actually help you increase your immunity. When
Mm-hmm.
we're in fear and I've mentioned this, you're flooded with cortisol and stress hormones. Every cell in your body is depleted in its fighting response.
Right.
So by being fearful all the time, you're actually decreasing your immunity. You're suppressing your immunity just when you need it the most. So when you
Right.
go to the supermarket, you don't pick up the virus. So if you get your sleep, try and eat relatively healthily, and try and watch your mind as to when you're in fear, you will automatically boost your immune system and be better
Yeah.
able to cope and better able to cope with your kids.
Yeah. Well, you've given us so much valuable information, and I appreciate you doing this with me because I know that a lot of parents need the support out there right now, given what is currently happening. But I do want to give you the chance to let everyone know how they can find you, how they can find your resources. That way, when this is posted and people have watched it, that they can reach out. So I don't know if that's through your email or your Facebook
Yeah.
group, but if you want to just give it all to us, that way
So,
we know.
yeah, thank you. If you need some support or you just need to reach out, you can go to my website, which is yourparentingpartner.com. And on the website, there's all the tabs across the top. You can find out all about me. You can find a link to my book, Parenting the Modern Teen. You can find a link to my family organizer, which is like a calendar and a parenting book resource center all in one, and it's evergreen. So you get it 365 days of the year, regardless of when you start. You don't need to be thinking, well, it's April, I'm not buying a calendar. And there's also a link to my podcast with, over 400 episodes on there. There's a link to my blog. So you can basically get everything you need to know about me from there. You can also, if you're interested in working one-on-one, you can request a conversation with me, which will take you to my scheduler, and you can book an appointment at a time that suits you, and we can chat about it and see how I might be able to support you in more detail. If you are looking for some support, I do have a private Facebook group, and it's called Parenting in the Thick of It, which is the same name as my podcast, Parenting in the Thick of It, which is the same name as the Family Organizer. And so go into Facebook, Parenting in the Thick of It, request to join. I admit and approve that request. And I do live videos, much like this, most weeks. And there's, the thread, people are helping each other, and there's a great tribe in there. So there's a lot of support in there as well. If you're feeling alone and you just need to know that there's someone there, and there's other people in the same boat as you, and they are. Everyone's going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Kids are bickering, kids are arguing, kids are on their phones. We're not getting enough time to ourselves. But it's good to know there's other people in exactly the same boat as you. So yeah, you can find me in any of those places.
I agree. Well, perfect. And thank you so much again for doing this with us.
You're very welcome, Tara. It was lovely to be here, and thank you, and stay safe, everyone.
You too.